Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Quantum Mystic podcast, where we're live today. This is super exciting. And I'm Jane Bear, here with my dear friend and co host, Lisa Campion. And today we're exploring sort of a big idea, but one that really sits at the heart of everything that Lisa and I teach and practice and believe, which is that consciousness is the real technology. And I think, what that means is, we're in a world full of healing tools and modalities and gadgets and techniques. And it's easy to start thinking that the power really lives in the thing, the crystal or the sound bath or the meditation app or even the next workshop. Um, but we want to sort of offer today that the real power doesn't come from the tool. It comes from the one using the tool. What that means is it comes from your consciousness, your awareness and your presence and your willingness to actually see yourself clearly. So let's start unpacking that. What does it really mean to raise consciousness, and why is awareness really more powerful than any technique? So let's dig
So
in, Lisa. What do you think?
fascinating.
I know.
So amazing, Jane. I'm so glad to be here with you again today and talking about this super important and topic. And I can say like I have so many things I want to say, but um let let's start with talking about what consciousness is because it's sort of hard to define. Well, what does that mean? Like, does that mean that you woke up this morning and had your cup of coffee and you're able to like navigate, like put your pants on and stuff like what is consciousness?
Yeah.
And how is it different from just thinking?
Yeah.
I guess that's what I want to talk about first.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. I'll just say I think raising consciousness is not about becoming better or more spiritual, and it's not about being, positive all the time or floating around like the hard parts of life don't exist. I think that to raise consciousness means to expand your capacity to see clearly and honestly without distortion.
Mm,
And it really means waking up to the truth of like who we are and how we operate, how we participate in the world and ultimately like the creation of our own reality. Um, what I think like what that means is it's the difference between reacting from old patterns and being on autopilot and responding from a place of like choice and presence and clarity.
it's beautiful.
What
What
do
a
you
great
think?
definition. For me, it feels like I love everything you said, and it feels like that aware. It's a being aware of myself, my
Yeah.
selfness, my beingness, and that might be like how I'm feeling emotionally, how I'm feeling physically, what my thoughts are, like kind of they say like, well, you have a body but you're more than your body, you have feelings, you're more than your feelings, you have thoughts, you're more than your thoughts. For me it's like, well, that what's that thing that's more than that's observing all those things, and not just observing but like I don't know, like cherishing that, or like, oh my god, look at my feelings, I'm having all these thoughts, look at my body's having a thing, and keeping my attention on the wholeness of that,
Mhm.
the wholeness of my experience of myself, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah, completely agree. The awareness, like when you're aware and when you become aware of your wholeness, but you're also like the full spectrum of the experience that you're having,
Mhm.
then you start to see like your personal part in whatever is happening. And with that awareness, really your reality completely shifts. It follows.
I think you stop kind of, it's like for me, it's taking a step back, and like this is why meditation works at developing our consciousness, because it cultivates, especially if you're doing sitting meditation, concentration meditation, not guided meditation, it really exercises the building of the conscious observer of the self. So that's what meditation people are always saying meditation does, is it develops this conscious, this objective, compassionate observer of the self, right?
Mhm.
And so you might be like, look at me, I'm feeling super angry right now. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
what happened? Look at all that rage. Oh gosh, dang it. Like, wow, that's really painful. And oh my God, that happened when I had this particular thought, and I'm feeling it in my body like this. And
Yeah.
I think like what you said about non-reactivity, until we gain a level of consciousness, we just like have this like knee-jerk reaction, like, I'm really mad and it's probably your fault, or it's probably this other person's fault, or
Yeah.
like we kind of push the experience outside of us, and we're just reacting to like nervous system level reaction to whatever got stimulated inside of us, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the autopilot. And I think that a lot of modern science really treats consciousness like an effect or something that is just produced by neurons firing, or
Mm,
something that comes from the body. But I feel like with the mystical and the quantum, viewpoint, that it sort of flips that idea entirely and says like consciousness doesn't come from the brain. The brain
right.
actually operates inside consciousness. So the body and like the matter of the body and the field are all organized by consciousness. Um,
Mm.
and I think that's when you begin with to become the observer, as opposed to all of this is happening because of all of this, if that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, totally makes sense. And I feel like it actually shifts our experience of reality, you know? So before we have the consciousness shift, reality is like, I'm mad and it's all that person's fault. I'm full of
Right.
rage and it's all that. And that we think that's reality with a capital R. And really like it's subjective reality, or is it reality, or is it just like the replay of our trauma? Um and our trauma drama, like all of our unhealed stuff, nervous system reaction, nervous system firing just lots of adrenaline into your system, like, is, well, I know that's really happening. I'm not saying that's not really happening, but we stop buying the story that that's reality with a capital R.
Mhm.
And we start seeing like there's multiple versions of reality. Reality is very subjective. Is there actually any reality with a capital R, or are we all just experiencing you know, our versions of reality? Not that that's not legit, that is legit, but I think it's when that happens where I think we come out of that polarization of thinking like I'm right, you're wrong, or
Mhm.
this whole group of people is evil, and this, I'm on the right. I'm on the right and you're in the wrong, like that. Um, I think when we gain a level of consciousness, we stop believing in that sort of level of reality with a capital R. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because and it's true, like what you were saying at the beginning of we often, up until a certain point, when maybe there's like a huge a shift or huge an awakening, we are literally operating from our old traumas, and that's why, I often say and often do this practice of looking around at everybody as if they are, traumatized 4-year-olds, because really everybody is a traumatized child in an adult body. And
Yeah.
once we can have that compassion for the fact that these unhealed parts of themselves are the ones that are actually at the wheel, they're the ones
Mhm.
driving the adult,
Yeah.
um, then we can have compassion for their experience. And so that's how all of these tools that we offer, 'cause I love tools. I love tools, but they're not it's not the tool that's raising the consciousness, it's the user that's raising the consciousness. It's us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love this, like, I see it, and because I spend a lot of time teaching, healers, and all
Yeah.
teaching Reiki, training healers. That's sort of my mission in life, is to create an army of healers, go out there and save the planet, right? And one of the things that's sort of shocking and radical for people when I start working with them is I'll tell them, I'm like, "Your modality doesn't matter."
Yeah.
Even though I teach Reiki and I love Reiki and there's a million great modalities out there, as a healer, your modality doesn't matter. Your modality, they're all good. They all have things that are great about them. But the modality is like a delivery mechanism for your presence. And I think that, consciousness presence. We experience that when someone's really conscious. We experience them as being very present. They're
Mhm.
fully embodied, they're grounded, they're open, their heart is open, they're receiving you.
Mhm.
So it's our presence, it's our consciousness, our presence that actually is the healing mechanism for people. It's when we show up fully grounded with our heart open and can receive somebody in full consciousness, healing happens. Healing happens for them,
Exactly.
healing happens for us. And the modality, the tool, is
Mhm.
just the delivery mechanism for that, really.
100%. That's exactly it. And that's sort of the mic
Yeah.
drop is like, you know, to walk into a room as the most present person there, because the presence itself changes the field.
Yep.
Because clarity itself is the medicine. And so it's like, I love that because it, the work isn't about finding more tools or for like you're saying, finding more modalities or finding, more healing things, offerings. The work is about learning how to be the tool. And
Yeah.
that's, when people talk about or ask about their purpose, it doesn't matter when you are in your essence and you're living your purpose, it doesn't matter what you do.
That's
You know,
right.
you could be the barista,
Mm.
and still do the same work in healing humanity as being, the
I
Reiki
love that.
master.
Totally. I always say you could take me out of my office and put me in McDonald's flipping hamburgers, and I'm still gonna be doing Reiki on people and talking to their dead grannies because
Yep,
can't I can't help it. It's
that's right.
like what I do. I love
That
Darcy. Darcy, hi Darcy. She's got a great comment. Do you experience consciousness and presence as synonyms? Are they the same?
I love that.
um,
Feminines.
are they? I think that I would say it's more like presence is the how how we feel someone's consciousness. But I don't know, what do you think, Jane?
Yeah, I'm not sure that they're exactly the same. It's like when we become more present with the present moment, with ourselves, with our sensations, with our feelings, with what is going around exactly right in front of us, because that's all there is, then our consciousness expands because,
Mm,
and that's the practice, right? That is actually being the tool because that's the meditation. We start to be able to feel like our gallbladder moving at the same time as we're having like noticing that there's a yellow car driving by. I mean, it's just like it's like hyper, it's not hyper awareness, but it's like it's like the experiencing the oneness of all things at exactly it's unity consciousness, but experiencing like the oneness. So I think with presence comes consciousness.
it must be one of those holographic things because I was gonna say exactly the opposite thing.
You were
That yeah, that with when you have deep consciousness, that's when people experience you as being fully present. But I think it's both true.
wait,
Like we
maybe we're
can
saying the same thing.
I mean, we can get to like a presence practices will elevate our consciousness. That's what you were saying, right? Like
Yep.
we mindfulness and presence, being fully in the moment is what creates consciousness. And I saw it the other way, which is the more conscious we are, the more access we have to our presence, our
Yeah.
full awareness in the moment. I think it's one of those like infinity loops, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they feed back on each other. The more consciousness you have, the more presence you have, the more presence you have, the more consciousness you have.
Yes. I think both can be true. And
Yeah.
there is a quantum physics word for that. And I don't it might be entanglement, but now I'm like, you know, my brain
I think it's superposition.
super
So
thank you.
superposition is like or the and I might be wrong too. God knows I could be wrong. But
These
we're not quantum
big
physicists here.
words.
But it's kind of this idea that as we are look at something, we it changes. So when things we observe it, we bring our presence to it, things change. But superposition is also it's a particle and a wave at the same time.
Yep.
Both a
Yep.
particle and a wave. Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
We just demonstrated that in our explanations.
So Alyssa has such a
Yeah.
good comment here. She says, I've been struggling for years to find my thing. I've considered everything from being a therapist to an herbalist. How do we find our essence as healers if we don't know exactly how to channel it? Super good question.
Great question. So relevant for so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Um,
Do you want me to go first?
yeah, you go first. I need to collect my thought there.
Yeah. I think again, I think it's so common that, and again, we feel in our society, especially Western culture, is that we're doers. We're trained to be to do, and to do the doing is the action, right? And so whatever we're doing is of the most importance. And because of that, we put a lot of weight on the thing that we do. And oftentimes that's first it's like money and then the thing, or, whatever the order is. We're a bit skewed in how we look at it. So when we could take that pressure off of ourselves and we just come to the question within our own self, like our own, um, in our own body, less about asking your mind, but really ask your heart, like, what lights me up? What do I
Mhm.
love to do? What brings
Yep.
me joy?
Yeah.
And so then you start mapping and answering those questions little by little. You're like, well, I love to dance, but I like really ultimately, I don't want to be I don't want to be a professional dancer. Okay. Well, what else brings me joy? And you're getting to know yourself, to know thyself
Mm.
on a deeper level. And I think I think going through that process is the easiest way to really ultimately be like, it doesn't matter what I do, but what
Yeah.
lights me up, and do that. And it might change, and it most likely will change because we change as we evolve, right?
Totally. I love that answer, Jane. And my answer's sort of similar. And I also totally, Alyssa, feel the frustration that we have when we don't know what to do. Because God
Yeah.
knows I've been there many times myself.
Same.
Just tell me how to do it. Show me
Yeah.
what to do and tell me how to do it. Like there's some, we really want that. And for me, like our life purpose as healers, you know what your life purpose is to be a healer. How you do that, there are many ways to do that. It may evolve. What lights you up is a really great place to start. And then also seeing all of them as the way that you're delivering your presence. And oftentimes it's what we feel called to do, what we feel drawn towards, what worked on us. You know, I just get like a my grandmother used to say, "Get a bee in her bonnet. I get a bee in my bonnet," about
Mhm.
something. I just feel kind of like this, like guidance, inner guidance towards something that's like I know is part of my path. And I also understand that it's a journey, not a destination, right? So we have to make room for that ever evolving. I've been doing the same thing my whole life, really, which is training psychics, healers, and empaths, building that army of healers. How I've done it has changed drastically over the many for 40 years that I've been doing it. It's not crazy.
Mhm.
Um, and and so I feel like there's always the next evolution. A lot of times I can't see, especially in this time in our life and our evolution. I can't see the future. I can't see very far down the road, but I always know what the next step is. I can always feel like, well, the very next step to take is this.
Mhm.
So that's also kind of where I go.
Yeah. Listening to that next step, I think, is really, really key because
Yeah.
we don't know our soul's journey. We can guess, but we really don't know. Like, I was a bartender for on and off for 6 years. Like, and honestly, I loved it. It was a blast. And I was doing a lot of the work I'm doing now then. I didn't know it, but I was. I was helping a lot of people. I had no idea. So it's like, had I not done that, I know I had to. Like, there was karmic reasons why I
Mm.
had to do it. There's all sorts of reasons why. Um, but I also knew when it was time to stop. and I listened to that, and so the next
Yeah.
step is important to listen to, and it, I came on quite a windy journey to get to where I am doing this work, but it was all really important. And so, yeah, so the
Alyssa,
listening.
definitely joining the Quantum Mystic Mystery School would be a
Yeah.
really beautiful part of your next step. Just saying. We're
Yep.
here to guide you over an 8-month period in our journey through the chakras to help understand. Sometimes we can't feel ourselves. Sometimes we have too much trauma. Sometimes we got to clear out all the tangles in our being before we can really feel ourselves enough to know what that is.
Yeah.
So some kind of something like that, if that, just love to have you in the school if you feel like that's a thing for you, we will be there to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, that's a big reason why we're offering um we started the mystery school, and why I think we're able to continue on to another year one and bringing more people in, is because we're at this pivotal time in like the collective consciousness, where people have that little like lingering question of, there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know what. And
Right.
Lisa and I have got to where we are right now differently, and we both have a lot of experience with
Mm.
all of this work, and we're here to share it. So
Yeah, because I do think it's quite hard to do on our own. Like we need the container, the structure, the mentors, the peers to sometimes know ourselves. And especially when we're dealing with the cutting edge of our own awareness, the cutting edge of our own conscious development of our consciousness,
yeah,
it's like trying to look at the back of your own head, right?
yeah,
You can't do it. You need a mirror to see the part of you that you can't see.
yeah.
And that's why programs like what we do work. You know, I really think that you can only get so far on your own. You can read all the books, you can do all the things. You can, if you spend a long enough time on the meditation mat. One of my meditation teacher would say 30 years on the mat and maybe not even then.
Uh-huh.
you know
Yeah. Yeah.
um 30 years on the mat for 5 lifetimes,
Mhm.
then you're good. But that this is, this program we've got is sort of an accelerated will kind of accelerate your process because we're giving you all these mirrors to look, the lens of the chakras, the lens of your, classmates and us, as so
Mhm.
we can see. Because the thing about your consciousness is that for me, like, it's all of my stuff is in my unconscious. All my problems, all my hangups, all my traumas, all my nervous system stuff is in my subconscious until somebody drags it in front of my face. And then I'm like, "Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Gosh, look at that?"
Yeah.
And as soon as it's in our conscious mind, it starts dissolving. This is why the tools work, I think, is the tools
Mhm.
can help us drag it out of our subconscious and put it in front of our face, so then we can it's our consciousness that begins to dissolve the blocks. We look at
Mhm.
it, we turn the light
Mhm.
on, and we're like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, yikes, look at that one. Or look at that past life, or look at that family pattern, or look at this generational trauma that I haven't dealt with, or what happened to me when I was a kid."
Yeah.
And it's the light of our own consciousness that
Mhm.
starts actually the healing work.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
awareness. And I think
Yeah.
what's really helpful is that, in a culture that's really addicted to distraction and outsourcing our power, of course, consciousness is the ultimate act of rebellion. And we need help. How do we get out of the distraction? How do we know, like, how to stop outsourcing that power? Like, how? So, um, you know, I think that's
I just
that's
love
what
that. I love that. I was like, "I'm gonna become fully conscious. That's what I'm gonna do. That's how I start the revolution."
I swear to you, that's how I feel.
I just love that. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and, um, no, Darcy's asking, is the mystery school virtual, in person, or a combo? It is somewhat of a combo. It's mostly online. That's why it's Modern Mystery School, is we're allowing people to come from all over the world to join us, and that's really the beauty of of that. And then at the end of each year, we do an in-person gathering, an in-person retreat, where we go through an initiation, which
Mm,
is very honoring the ancient mystery schools, because there's always an initiation at the end.
yeah.
Yeah.
So cool. I love that. It's good
Yeah.
stuff.
It's good stuff. So, there's nothing wrong. Tools are so amazing. We use tools every day. I think it's just when we remember that it's not like the technique, it's not even the healer. It's not the gadget.
Mhm.
It's not anything outside of ourselves. Because when we remember that consciousness is the source of all creation, then we come back into right relationship with ourselves. And
That's a
so,
very profound thought thing that you just said there, Jane, and I just wanna, like, put the spotlight on that for a minute because that was some high level metaphysics right there. Like, the entire universe is consciousness. Like, this pen is made from consciousness. God is made of consciousness, is like conscious. The universe is conscious. Like, everything, and the planet we live in has a consciousness of its own, and we're
yes.
all interwoven into the collective consciousness of all life on this planet, all all things in the universe. It's the building block of everything.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that consciousness becomes dense, and that
Yeah.
creates form,
Yep.
and then it's not, then it goes springs back into pure energy,
Yes.
right? And that was such a I just wanted to, like, give some love to that statement because I thought it was really deep. It was amazing.
Sometimes really deep things just pop out.
Yep.
I don't know where they come from.
Yeah, so
Oh,
cool.
so
So we
cool.
we would just invite you to check it out if you wanna check out the mystery school. We only start once a year. We're starting it up again in June, taking in a new class. It's 8 months. It's a really profound journey in a really sacred container. We make it fun because we're pretty fun.
I,
But it is a deep ride. Check it out at quantummystic.com.
yep.
And Jane, where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and the work that you do?
Yeah. So you can find me at janebearhealingstudio.com. And that's where you'll find my website with all the work that I do as an intuitive energy healer, and really helping people, come back to themselves. And I focus a lot on self-love. I focus a lot on relationship with the self. Um, and I if by now, if you've been listening to us for a while, I'm totally a geek and obsessed about all of this work. It's really fun for me. So,
It's awesome.
and
Yeah. And
Lisa.
if you're looking for me, you can find me at lisacampion.com. I mostly teach and write books these days,
Mhm.
but I work a lot with emerging psychics, healers, and empaths who are really seeking to fully understand their gifts, fully step into their gifts. Because I'm not kidding when I say my mission in life is to create an army of healers to go out there and save the world. That's I feel like that's my contribution, and I love helping people really be able to access their psychic skills, weave them into their healing abilities, psychic healers. Love that stuff. And consciousness is a big part of that. Like it's a deep process of really understanding who we are. And like I always say this to my students, my healer students, that it's the healer that has done the most work on themselves that has the line out the door of
Mhm.
clients. And that work is what the work we do in the mystery school. That work is the work of consciousness. You can
Mhm.
only go as deep with your clients as you've gone inside yourself. And that is true for everything. Doesn't matter what kind of work you're doing. Like
Mhm.
the more we raise our consciousness, the more we remove the blocks to our consciousness, which we do through chakra work.
Mhm.
And the more access we have to that, the more presence we bring to everything we're doing in our life, our parenting, our
Yeah.
our corporate jobs, our relationships, it's all going to benefit from coming out of that reactive state and coming more into that clear state of consciousness. It's kind of, I hate to say it's going to fix everything, but it kind of does.
And I totally agree. And, Lisa and I really put ourselves and the work that we do on ourselves first. And I think that that's hopefully what makes us great teachers. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's a pretty bold statement that I just
Absolutely
made.
true, though. It's
But
absolutely true. Like it doesn't, if we can't embody it, if we're not living it and doing it ourselves, it doesn't work.
right.
So we have to live it.
And we have teachers and we keep doing the work as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I just want to finish
One
up
more
with what
question.
Alyssa's,
Yeah.
yeah, she's saying the concept of only going as deep in yourself. Could that be the reason why we go through the specific traumas that we do to integrate and help others? I think in some ways that's absolutely true. Sometimes I have a little more radical theory in here. I think sometimes stuff just happens and it's not our fault and we didn't call it up, but we have to deal with it. And sometimes we have really specific things, our karmas from our past lives, our unresolved karmas and our generational trauma that we sort of chose when we were up there in soul world. We chose to have as our things we're going to work through and heal. And then life just gives us tons of opportunities to do that. We magnetize that, we create that, we attract opportunities to do the next level of healing. And I think for me at this point, I'm always like, ooh, goody, there's another thing for me to
Hmm.
heal. Like, instead of like, oh crap, I'm not good enough, or like I'm still broken. Like, I don't think of it that way anymore. I think like, oh, isn't how interesting? There's something else really juicy that I'm gonna feel so much better when I let go of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do agree with you, and I know it's a really can be a hard pill to swallow, which is, we have these traumas in our lives, and because more often than not, because it's perfectly for our souls, for our our essence, for our beings, for our souls evolvement, and we don't know what karma we're coming in with, and how we're going to, but it's always an opportunity, always.
Yeah. Always.
Everything that comes into our life is always an opportunity for our for freedom, for our
Mhm.
souls, for enlightenment, for that
Yeah.
higher way of being. And it's how in that moment, and this is consciousness, this is the awareness, this is how in that moment we choose to um, deal with it, how we respond, how we react. And so, I do. It's like when we can get to the place of gratitude for all the things that happen, not to
Right.
us, but happen,
Yeah.
then we're doing the work.
Yeah. I know. It's beautiful. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for your questions. Thank you,
Yes.
Darcy and Alyssa, for your amazing questions, and everyone
Thanks
else
for
who's
being here.
listening. And thank you, Jane, for being here again. It's been great.
Always fun. Thank you, everybody. And we'll be here next week on the Quantum Mystic Podcast.